Welcome back to the Choose UCalgary Podcast. My name is Arista, and I am your host for Season 9. In today's episode, I'll be talking to Asha and Raneet, the co-chairs of the Chancellor Scholars Ambassadors Club. We'll be talking about all that UCalgary has to offer, from study abroad, research, to clubs, and how you could get involved as a future student. I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the traditional territories of the people of the Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta, and that the City of Calgary is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta Districts 5 and 6. The City of Calgary has always been my home, but I'm only a second-generation Canadian on my dad's side, reminding me of how thankful I am for being able to attend school, live, and work on the lands of the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Tsuut'ina First Nation, and the Stoney Nakoda Nations. Which reminds me how important it is to remember that everything done at the University of Calgary campus, including podcast recordings, starts with these lands. Please keep this in mind as you listen to this podcast. To start off, would you guys be able to introduce yourselves, your program, and your study and stuff like that?
So my name is Asha, and I'm currently in my fourth and final year of my undergrad degree here at U of C. I'm studying political science in the Faculty of Arts, and I've also done a certificate in pluralism and global citizenship, and it's been a wonderful 4 years so far.
Hi everyone, I'm Raneet. I am in my third year of a Bachelor's of Health Science. I'm majoring in biomedical science with a minor in health and society.
Would you guys be able to talk a little bit about your program, especially with programs in such different fields?
For sure. So for me, I decided to go into political science really because it offered such a broad array of different courses that I was able to take. And throughout my 4 years, I've been able to take such a wide range of courses, everything from political science to communications to religious studies to even courses on climate change. So I think that it's really broadened my perspective and helped me understand the stories of people around me. And that's something that's been really cool. And then for my certificate in pluralism and global citizenship, I've also really enjoyed taking that because it supplemented my degree, and it's also allowed me to take some really small courses. Like, for example, my pluralism seminar was only 6 students, and it was an incredible experience because I think the discussions we had in that class were just so enriching, and we also all got an opportunity to participate in a community practicum. So we actually did a project out in the community. I was facilitating English language learning at the Calgary Centre for Newcomers, and then we would come back together and discuss the learnings from our project and how it applied to broader society. So I think those practical hands-on components have also been a really cool part of my degree.
Yeah, definitely. You get to put kind of those classes into practice and stuff like that and
Exactly.
see where you can kind of take the degree and everything, which is amazing to do.
For sure.
For me, I always sort of thought I had an interest in biology and physiology and science in that regard, so I was really excited to start a science degree here at U of C in my first year. For me, biomedical science has been a really great opportunity to dip my toes in research while also getting some of those more quintessential content-based classes like physiology, like chemistry, biology. We have some integrated research courses as well that, like Asha mentioned, have a very small class size, so 6 to 8 people. You can even get paired up with a partner and work in a lab for a semester. And so it's a really great opportunity to apply some of those class learnings in a practical setting. And for me, that would be in a wet lab or in research projects.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess definitely in your program you have a lot to do with research, and I know, Asha, you've done some research as well, especially for that community project and stuff like that. Yes. Would you be able to kind of discuss how you came into this at UCalgary and how you've been involved with that?
Yeah, for me, research has, I think, really been a foundational aspect of my program. There's been numerous opportunities to do summer research through studentships that allow you to have some funding to facilitate a project ranging from 2 to 4 months over the summer. I've done a few of those. I think the majority of my research work has been in Dr. Carol Huang's lab in the Alberta Children's Hospital Research Institute, and we've been working on looking at the role of the prolactin receptor in type 2 diabetes after pregnancy. So it's been really interesting to engage with the academic and scholarly communities and learn from people with decades of experience in some of these fields and try to use some of the learnings I've had as well to contribute in a positive way.
So my research has been a little bit less hands-on, I would say, in the Faculty of Arts, but I think that's the cool thing, is that you don't have to be like in a science program to be able to do research here at the University of Calgary. And I don't think coming into university, I knew that those opportunities existed. So I think my research has been more so around the impact of political structures, institutions, and public policy on people's lives. And so I've done a few different projects. I did one project in my first year that was looking at African development, but through an Indigenous lens. So that was pretty cool. Another project that I worked on last summer with Dr. Jack Lucas actually was the Canadian Municipal Barometer Project. So we were collecting and analyzing data on the makeup and functioning of municipal governments across the country, and really how does that local level of government impact people's lives. And then I think the research that I've done that's probably been closest to my heart has been around human rights, migration, and refugee studies. I've done a little bit of work looking at how Canada has responded to contemporary refugee crises, so particularly in Syria, in Afghanistan, and in Ukraine. And then looking at the differences in response, I was also able to collaborate with some experts at the Canadian Centre for Refugees to determine a framework on how many refugees Canada should accept from various humanitarian crises, depending on various criteria, like the population that's been affected by the crises, global support by the crises, and the severity of the crises. And so I think the fact that the research that I've been doing actually is contributing to creating larger solutions and impacting people's lives has been quite meaningful to me. And the fact that I've then been able to apply those research through practical projects like working at the Center for Newcomers has been really cool, because it's showed that I've been able to contribute to the community in a sense through the work that I'm doing here at the university. And so that's been really exciting. I'm excited to present some of that research at the Arts Undergraduate Research Symposium.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's definitely cool that it's not just like theoretical stuff, it's actually stuff that can be implemented and being presented to a larger audience, which is amazing to have. You're in health sciences, so research is very integrated into the degree and stuff like that. Do you kind of get to choose and like customize the type of research that you get to do to be like very personal to you and something you're passionate about?
Absolutely. I think that's one of the best things about health science research in particular. Even though it's all mostly science oriented, there's a huge diversity in terms of the projects available, the fields in which they're geared towards. It's really amazing to see the different types of research from a methodological perspective, so like different techniques you're employing. Some can be wet labs, some can be dry labs, some can be doing surveys or focus groups out in the community. All that can fall under the broader umbrella of health science research. And then in addition to the methodological diversity, I think there's also a lot of diversity just in terms of the topics and the faculties in which they stem from. So health science research is going to be very different from doing cancer research. And so it's really nice to be able to experience a broader diversity of research that all sort of has that foundational health science base, and being able to see how these different projects at the end of the day, they all sort of work together and have some sort of intersectionality that helps promote, I'd say, positive well-being in the community from that health science perspective.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely amazing that you get to kind of customize that and make it very personal and stuff to you, which is awesome. Would you guys be able to talk about what has been like your favorite experience at UCalgary so far, whether it's been like with research or anything else, even outside of your program?
I can start by talking about a group study opportunity that I was able to go on last spring. So that was not, I guess, at the University of Calgary physically, but it was through the University of Calgary. And I think that's been one of the best experiences I've had. I took a trip to Italy for 3 weeks and took 2 religious studies courses in Italy. And it was the first time I had taken religious studies courses, so it was very eye-opening. As someone who studies political science, I study a lot of like macro-level political institutions and how they impact people's lives. But this course, or these courses, opened my eyes, I think, to some of the more like micro-level institutions like culture and theology, and how they've shaped the lives of communities for centuries. So that was super cool. I also think, as someone who's an Ismaili Muslim myself, learning about the religions of paganism and Christianity really reminded me of how all religions and faiths originate from a common strand. And I think being in that environment where I was experiencing these practices, but also with a very diverse group of peers who are from all different faculties, and sharing experiences with them on a day-to-day basis, and then also being the recipient of kindness in Italy, really broadened my perspective on the world. And overall, it just reminded me of our common humanity. And so that experience is something that I'm definitely going to take with me as I move on past my undergrad undergraduate degree. So I would definitely say if you get the opportunity, try to do a study abroad, a group study program during your time here at the university.
Yeah, we definitely offer a lot of like group study and study abroad opportunities for students to take advantage of and stuff with like every program, which is amazing to have.
For sure. And like the nice thing too was that it took 2 courses out of my schedule for this year as well, which is super cool. So by doing a group study, you can also make your schedule a little lighter for the next year.
Yes, exactly.
It's so funny you say that, Asha, because I literally just applied to a study abroad program myself for this upcoming summer.
That's so exciting.
Fingers crossed I get a chance to go, but we're planning on going to Shanghai and doing a little bit of an integrated research program there. It's not like a traditional class abroad, but it's going to be more of like being paired up in a lab and being able to sort of conduct some research in an entirely different country, halfway across the world. So fingers crossed for that, but I'm also really excited, and what you said just made me more excited. But I think my favorite experience that I've had thus far, it's not exactly a singular experience, but I'd say it's just the community at the University of Calgary, which has really made my experience here so robust. I think if you have a chance to attend networking events, or if you have a chance to attend scholar series or guest lectures, I would always recommend doing that, because you'll never know who you'll run into and the kind of ideas that you'll hear from people. Recently, we attended Lecture of a Lifetime with Dr. J. Cross, and it was such an amazing opportunity to hear about the work he had done. It was such an inspirational presentation. It was really eye-opening. So I'd really recommend taking opportunities to meet people who you traditionally wouldn't, and try to engage in communities that are new to you.
Since you've also had experience like applying to a study abroad type thing, how did you guys find that process? Like what future students have to look for in going into that process from a student's perspective?
For me, it was pretty seamless. I think the study abroad office here at UCalgary has great supports for students to, first of all, gain ideas about the diversity of programs that are offered abroad and sort of choose something that appeals to you, but maybe also is a little bit out of your comfort zone. So I think that's a really great opportunity to just explore the different options that are out there. And then everything from the funding opportunities to the actual applications, you're well supported throughout the entire process. And I think it's a great opportunity to do something a little bit different.
Yeah, for sure. Did you have anything to add to that at all, or?
I would just say that when I was trying to decide what programs I wanted to apply to, I found it really helpful to talk to students who had already gone on the program, because of course you can get a wide array of information from reading the brochures and talking to the study abroad office, but I think when you talk to students who actually went on those programs, it gives you even more insight into what they gained from them. So have conversations with people who are maybe a year or two above you in your degree, talk to them about what they've enjoyed during their degree. I think that's really helpful when applying. And then in particular for the study abroad, I think most of them require like a personal statement. So I found that was also just a really good opportunity to kind of stop and reflect on my university journey so far. And then when I applied, I had like a year left in my undergrad degree. So kind of thinking about, okay, now that I have a year left, what do I want to do in that year left? And how is this experience going to help me achieve those goals? So I think it's a good time for reflection when you're doing applications like that as well.
For sure, definitely. When did you guys kind of start thinking about doing a study abroad, like before you had even like applied or anything like that?
I had a friend who had done it after second year, so about halfway through my degree, and that's when I think it kind of entered my mind when my friend had done it, and I was like, oh cool, like this is something I should consider as well. So I think then when I started third year, I started like seeking out those opportunities, and I think that the meetings, if I remember, happened like fairly early in the year. So I think for the Italy program that I went on, we had a couple information sessions in the fall, so it does happen fairly early for those programs in the spring, so I would just say keep an eye on them.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the same for you, Raneet.
I'm still in the application process right now. I haven't been told if I've been accepted or not, so I'm still working on my application. But yeah, I had a very similar experience. I had a friend actually who also went abroad in second year, and she really loved her experience. She recommended it to me, and then I sort of started looking into the different opportunities that were available, the different things I could do. I think it's really great that you can do classes if you want, but you can also do other things like research. So I'm not going to have a class, but I will be in like a lab, and there'll be like different project requirements for that, but I think it's really nice to have that opportunity to do something that is really tailored to an interest that you have in a totally new environment. So yeah, but the process I think is pretty seamless. You'll be well supported throughout it if you do choose to do a study abroad program. I would recommend going early, looking into things early, but for me I think it really started at the beginning of my third year when I started considering actually going abroad.
Yeah, for sure. So it's definitely never too late for any future students to start considering a study abroad and stuff like that.
Definitely not.
You can explore campus with a self-guided tour or access all the guides for UCalgary events like Open House with Discover UCalgary app. This app has everything you need to know as a future UCalgary Dino with insider info on everything UCalgary for future students. Download today if you are a prospective UCalgary student, available on Apple and Android. So you're both recipients of the Chancellor's Scholarship, which includes being a part of Chancellor Scholars Ambassadors Club. Would you be able to talk about this and how it has affected your UCalgary experience?
So maybe we can start a little bit by talking about the Chancellor Scholarship. So the Chancellor Scholarship is awarded to incoming undergraduate students at the University of Calgary, between 3 to 10 incoming students every year from a wide variety of disciplines. So in our group we have myself and Raneet, who are studying very different disciplines, but we also have people studying everything from engineering to social work to education, which I think is really incredible. And the Ambassadors Club is the group of Chancellor Scholars who are really dedicated to giving back to the community. We're the only prestige scholarship here on campus that has a club for our recipients, and I think we're pretty proud of that fact because the Chancellor Scholars are a very tight-knit community. We've created some really strong connections and friendships within our group. We have a lot of committees and other work that we do that we can talk about as well, but I think just the community that we fostered within our group has been incredible, and then also the community that we fostered at the university. The Chancellor Scholarship provides so many opportunities, like Raneet said, to attend things like Lecture of a Lifetime, but connect with the University of Calgary Senate and the broader Calgary community. And so that's enriched my degree in so many ways. And I think as co-chairs of the Ambassadors Club, Raneet and I have found so many different opportunities to get involved both in the university and the wider community, and do so with our amazing cohort of Chancellor Scholars.
Yeah, absolutely. I can delve a little bit into some of the nuanced work that the Ambassadors Club has been up to. Like Asha alluded to, we have several different committees within our club. We do work both on campus and in the greater Calgary community, which has been a great way to sort of extend the reach, I think, of the work University of Calgary does and the work Chancellor Scholars do. We have various volunteering events that we host for scholars at different organizations, the Drop-In Center, Remembrance Day Field of Crosses. We host a holiday party for the children at Woods Homes every year. We have a Scholars Networking Night that we put on every year for prestige scholars from all across UCalgary to come together, be in the same room, mingle, meet new people. We usually have esteemed Senate speakers at that event as well. So I think it's a really great way of just fostering that sense of interconnectedness between different faculties, between students. We have people from all across Canada at the University of Calgary, and so it's really important, I think, to emphasize making those lasting connections, and that's one of the main missions of the Ambassadors Club.
You mentioned that you're co-chairs of the club. What kind of does that job entail for you guys, and how did you come into that opportunity and that story behind that?
When I started university, it was in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. My first year of university, all my classes were online except one class that kind of went back and forth depending on how many COVID cases we had on campus. And so that was challenging, I think, to start university in the middle of a pandemic when I didn't have any in-person contact with my cohort or my peers. And that first year, I think one of the things that really inspired me was the brief conversations and online meetups that I was able to have with the fellow Chancellor Scholars. And at the time, not a lot of clubs were doing things on campus. It was COVID. People were feeling a bit isolated. But the Ambassadors Club and the co-chairs at the time were really making an effort to allow the Chancellor Scholars to connect over Zoom, to introduce us to the Chancellor online, as well as to other senators and esteemed members of the Calgary community. And I just remember every time we had a Zoom call or a Teams chat, I would always come out of that feeling so inspired. And so at the end of my first year, one of the co-chairs was graduating and they were looking for someone to fill that position. And so I put my name in the hat and applied, and it's an election process where the other Chancellor Scholars kind of elect you to become the co-chair. But I think for me, the Chancellor Scholarship has just been such a huge part of the community that I've been able to build here at the University of Calgary. And having been born and raised in Calgary, I'm so grateful for everything that I think both the university but also the broader city has invested in me. And I want to do everything that I can to continue building that community here on campus and in the city as a whole. And so chairing the Ambassadors Club and being part of the Chancellor Scholars Group just seemed like the perfect opportunity to do that. And I think having done it now for almost 3 years, it's been very fulfilling to me, and I hope that I've been able to make a very small impact on the community around me.
I think Asha hit the nail on the head. Exactly the same thing, except I didn't start during COVID. I started in 2022, so just as COVID was really wrapping up. My last year of high school, we were all wearing masks and we were online in person, but as I started university, thankfully we were back to having more of that in-person contact, and I have noticed that there still is some COVID-19 rebound. We're all experiencing it even 5 years now later, but I think just being mindful of that and making that extra effort to try to foster that collaboration, that community is really important. And I'm so grateful again for what the Chancellor Scholarship has given me, and I really just wanted to come full circle and try to give back in a similar capacity, and that's the real reason for why I do what I do with the Chancellor's community, with the University of Calgary community, and in Calgary as a whole.
Yeah, for sure. That's amazing. So both of you being from Calgary, how has this really impacted like your UCalgary experience, and like have you made a community here outside of the Ambassadors Club as well?
Yeah, born and raised Calgarian. University of Calgary has always felt like a second home to me, honestly. When I was really young, I used to do the summer camps that University of Calgary offers, so I usually spend most of my summers here anyways. But it was a full circle moment, I think, coming to the University of Calgary for me, and it's been great. I think I've been able to really expand that network that I had already and make new connections, make new friends, learn so much. But at the same time, it was also really nice to have that support system that I've worked hard to build and maintain prior to coming university, that I could rely on when things were challenging or I was experiencing setbacks. And so I think it's been a really great way to expand on that community, but also have something to fall back on.
I 100% agree with Raneet on that point. I think, like I said, coming into university during the pandemic, and so that, along with the Chancellor Scholarship offer, kind of swayed me to choose UCalgary, and 4 years later, I'm, so glad that I did. I've had the most incredible experience here over the last 4 years, and like Raneet said, I think it's because I've been able to keep my connections to a lot of the communities that have shaped me into the person that I am today. So being at the university, I've still been able to volunteer, for example, with my community association or my faith community. And so I've been able to maintain a lot of those connections and strengthen my bond, I think, to the city of Calgary. I would say that the University of Calgary, one thing that's very unique about it, I think, compared to other Canadian universities, is we're very embedded in the city of Calgary. There's so many opportunities here at the university to get involved in the wider city and to create connections with people in the wider city. So I think that's been amazing. And I think it's really strengthened my liking for the city of Calgary as a whole. I think Calgary will always be home. I'm kind of considering my next steps right now, and I might move away for a couple years to do law school. But one thing that's always in the back of my mind, even as I've been looking at programs, is when I'm done, I will come back to Calgary because this is the city that I want to build my life and my family in. And I think being here at the University of Calgary has really reinforced that for me.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely, the opportunities that UCalgary offers is very embedded in, Calgary, city life and stuff like that. Even internships, partnerships, student, deals and stuff like that really does extend to the city of Calgary. Us either supporting businesses in Calgary or Calgary trying to support us type thing, which is amazing to have.
And I think Calgary is such a small community when you're actually here. When you're just around campus, you'll find people you worked with in other volunteering capacities, or when you're out in the community, you'll find people profs who taught you on campus, or someone you went to school with. So yeah, it's a small city once you've been living here, working, volunteering in it, I think.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely not hard to make those connections once you're trying and putting yourself out there and being very open-minded and stuff like that, like we talked about before. Have you guys gotten involved in any other clubs, SU clubs on campus and stuff?
Yeah, so in my first year, I was part of the SU Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Task Force, which was an incredible experience. And I was able to continue some of that EDI work throughout my degree. So I was part of the Elevating Equity podcast, which interviews members of the campus community on work they're doing to elevate inclusion on campus. I was part of a number of projects to promote and create Black History Month events, scholarships for racialized and diverse students, and that actually propelled some of the work that I've done in the summers, working for ATB Financial as an inclusion analyst. So there's opportunities all around you. I've also been an executive of the Humans of UCalgary team here on campus, which is inspired by Humans of New York, but it's a photojournalism club where we take photos and write up stories of members of the UCalgary community and share that on our social media just to foster a greater sense of community on campus. So that's been really incredible. I've also been a member of the Scholars Academy, which I know Raneet is also part of. And so there are so many opportunities out there. Just seek out the things that you're interested in, I would say. You don't have to do everything when you're at university, but pick a few things, I think, that you're really interested in and that you have the time and capacity to dedicate yourself to. And then once you pick those things, you're going to have a great experience if you put in hard work and passion into those projects.
Yeah, for sure.
For me, I've dabbled in a few SU clubs, but I think the main one I like to highlight is Amnesty International, the U of C chapter. And I think this has been such a great way to sort of partake in the global conversation around human rights. And especially in the last few years, we've had a number of different things across the world where human rights have really been brought to the forefront or brought to the front of people's minds. And I think it's really important to have been part of a club during a sort of a difficult time and sort of have that awareness about what's going on and what are people doing about it. And so being part of Amnesty International, and that NGO has done a lot of work in terms of calling out human rights injustices and advocating for individuals, but even being a small part of that at the University of Calgary has given me a greater appreciation for everything that goes around across the world and what we can do even as individuals. It's like the classic saying, be the change you want to see in the world. So even if that change is not something huge, even if you can't be, the loudest voice, it's important to be some voice, to step up for individuals wherever you can. And I think this has been a really great advocacy opportunity for me. Scholars Academy has also been a big part. I joined last year, and I think one of the greatest things about Scholars Academy is mentorship. And I'm always a big proponent of mentorship. I think it's super important to find people who are in your corner and really try to develop long-lasting connections with them. You can learn so much and gain so much advice and guidance. And so mentorship has been a huge part of my time here at the University of Calgary, and it's been through opportunities like the Ambassadors Club. We have a mentorship program as well. And through Scholars Academy, I've really connected with some amazing people and learned so much from them.
Yeah, for sure. With you both being a part of Scholars Academy, could you guys go into detail as to what that is and stuff for future students listening who may not know yet?
Yeah, so the Scholars Academy is a program that's run out of the Student Success Center here at the University of Calgary, and it's for highly passionate students within their field of studies to connect with one another and to make a greater impact on the community. So they have a first-year scholars program that you can join coming into university. In your first year, where you connect with upper year students, they provide you with some mentorship, and then I think your first opportunity to apply to the Scholars Academy would be at the end of your first year. Once you apply to the Scholars Academy, you're in the program for the rest of your undergrad degree, unless you decide not to be in the program for whatever reason. But there's a few different important things that I think the Scholars Academy offers you. Like Raneet talked about mentorship, you're paired with community mentors. So during my time in the program, I've had 3 different community mentors. None of them have necessarily been in the field of work that I eventually want to go into, but they've been passionate about community-related causes, about social advocacy and civic engagement, which are things I'm passionate about. And so I think they've helped me create so much connection to the wider city and to community engagement work I can do in the city. And the Scholars Academy also offers service projects for all of its members. So if you're in the Scholars Academy, you could start your own service project and then have other students join that service project. So during my time in the Scholars Academy, I've been involved in a couple different service projects, some related to mental health, improving the mental health of students on campus, and then also ones related to connecting current Scholars Academy student with Scholars Academy alumni students. And then there's just a lot of events that expose you to really cool people in the community. We have mentorship breakfasts, we have speaker series, we have year-end events. And so at the end of the day, I think this goes for the Scholars Academy, but also everything else at the university. It is what you put into it, I think. And so if you put in the effort and the time to go to these events, to meet people, you're going to have an incredible experience. And I think that goes for so many different extracurricular opportunities here at the university.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Scholars Academy has been a great opportunity. My service learning project this year has been around type 1 diabetes. So we're part of a broader organization in Calgary called I Challenge Diabetes. And really we work to fundraise for and provide programming for type 1 diabetics, particularly youth. Type 1 diabetes can be a very isolating condition in many cases. And so it's really important to have that social community and social support network. So a lot of the work we've been doing has been around providing those opportunities for children and adolescents diagnosed with type 1 to get together, meet people like them who have similar challenges as them, and feel more connected and more supported in their journey with type 1 diabetes.
For sure, that's amazing. If you could give any future and prospective students any advice, what would it be?
I was just saying to Raneet yesterday that it's crazy to think that I only have like 3 more weeks of undergrad left. And so I think on that note, I would say just enjoy your time and embrace it, because it will go by so fast. I know everyone says that to you and it sounds cliche, but now that I'm in it and like I'm graduating, I'm like, oh my gosh, it did go by so fast. So don't worry so much about the little things. Like, it will all work out at the end of the day. There's so many opportunities here on campus. So, like we mentioned, pick the things that you're passionate about and then really step into those things. And if you do that, everything is going to work out just fine. Enjoy your time and enjoy the people that you meet. Like, I think, like, for example, Raneet and I have become such good friends through working together on the Ambassadors Club. We never would have met each other had it not been for the Chancellor Scholars or the Ambassadors Club. We're from completely different fields, but the people you meet through these type of extracurricular opportunities who are highly passionate about like making a difference in their community, in their respective fields, I think are going to be the people that you're going to work with to create change in the world as you go forward in your career. So just enjoy your time and enjoy the people that you meet, I think I would say.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think on a similar note, this has sort of been a central theme throughout our conversation, but it's all about that community, about the support network. I'd say my advice would be little assignments, they come and go, small things come and go, and academic success is really important, and we all emphasize that, and we all know that, but I think having and developing that community, finding the people who are going to be in your corner potentially for the rest of your life is really important, just as important, I think, as the classes you take and the degree you achieve at the end of the day. So I'd say really make an effort to meet new people, develop and maintain lasting friendships, lasting mentor-mentee relationships, networking connections, and really try to develop and maintain that support community that's going to really be with you far beyond just the walls of the U of C campus. So really try to meet new people and keep an open mind. That'd be my advice.
For sure, yeah, I think that's amazing. Thank you guys. Is there anything else you would like to tell future students or share on the podcast today?
I love that focus on community. I think I would just end by saying that there's so much opportunity when you come to the university to find your community, but then as you go through your time here at the university to contribute to building community, both on campus and in the city. So like Raneet said, keep that focus on community and things are going to work out if you figure out how you can find your community and contribute to the broader community. And I think that's something that I hope to keep with me as I go forward on my journey as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't be overwhelmed. There'll be a lot of different opportunities and different chances to get involved, and just try to find what best aligns with your interests, whatever your calling is. You don't have to do everything, but just try to do whatever really feels like that sits best with your heart, with your vision. And like Asha said, you get what you put into it. So you get out of it what you put into it. So really just try to maximize your experience. Undergrad only comes once, so appreciate every moment of it. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak today.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
I think this will be amazing for future students to hear. Thank you for listening to this episode of Season 9 of the Choose UCalgary podcast. Remember to follow us on Instagram at choose.ucalgary and Facebook at UCalgaryFS to stay up to date on all things UCalgary for future students. DM if you have any questions and stay tuned for the next episode.